Okay, second set of notes for this week. Unit rate. This is for Wednesday, November 18th. So calculating unit rate. So we're gonna look at this with our bullet notes and then our fill-in notes, just like we did solving proportions on Monday. So in the real world, you write what you have been given. As a ratio. So just like on Monday, we wrote what we were given as a ratio. And then second step, you set up a proportion. So equal to, so your proportion is either going to be equal to x over 1 or 1 over x, because we want unit rate. So unit rate is what we, for 1 unit. And third step is to solve. There's also a shortcut for this. You just divide the ratio. Because since it's going to be equal to 1, you're not really multiplying it by anything, because it's just going to still be itself. So if we are talking about $15 for 6 cans, you would do 15 divided by 6, and you would get 1 can is $2.50. So one less step than our solving proportions, because we're only comparing it to 1 unit. So that's real world situations. If we're looking at from equations, so if the cost of renting a car can be modeled so y equals, we have 0.2x plus 10. So that's the equation we're looking at, where y is our total, and then 0.2 is something equals cost per mile. And then x, what we don't know, is number of miles. And the 10 represents the rental fee, so the one-time rental fee. So we have our y is our total. 0.2 is being multiplied by however many miles we go, and then the 10 just added on as the rental fee. So looking at this, the unit rate is 0.2. And why is this? Because it's per mile. Per 1 mile, 1 mile is 20 cents. So you just pull it from the equation. You can also calculate unit rates from tables. So say we have a table. You can do this with proportions also. We have 1, 6 and 12 as our x's, 0.25, 1.5, and 3 as our y. So step 1 from tables. You find the value for y when x equals 1. When x equals 1 in the table. The value of y is the unit rate. So here, x equals 1 right there, so our unit rate would be 0.25. However, every time, your table will not have a 1 every single time. So if it doesn't have a 1, you set up a proportion using another ordered pair. So, had we not had the 1, you could have set up 6 over 1.5 and set it equal to 1 over x and divided across. So, another thing you can take unit weight from is graphs. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're gonna label this up until 8. And relating to our problem from Monday, we're gonna label it dozen cupcakes. And then, but this time it's gonna be about cost of dozen cupcakes. So from graphs, you pick a point. On the line. So that was our line. And then you set up a proportion and solve. Yes, this is just x, y. Here's our x's. There's our y's. So this point would be 8, 36 because it's going up by 4s. So if 8 cupcakes equal $36, you do 36 over 8. We want to know how much it costs for 1 cupcake. You're just really doing 36 divided by 8. So that's $4.50 each. So I know that was a lot, so you might want to pause after each section to write it down. And we're going to look at it on the next pages, and that graph will already be filled in. So if you got confused making your own graph, we're going to look at it the same way, but it's already going to be filled in. Oops, I copied these backwards. Oops, okay. So, first, the constant of proportionality. So the constant value of the ratio of two proportional quantities. So quantities are just values. So y equals mx, where m equals the constant of proportionality. I'm going to run out of room. So I'm going to abbreviate it as PROP, for proportionality. So this is all filled in for you. So if you print it out, you'll be able to read it. Talks about just like how we did on the front. It's just in another way in case you don't like writing out everything. You do better reading it. These notes are for you. So proportional relationships can be represented in tables. The tables can be used to identify the constant of proportionality, which is your 1 unit rate. So find the value of 1 in the left column. The number in the column to the right of the 1 is the constant of proportionality, aka the unit rate. If there is no 1 in the table, it's a proportion using another pair in the table and a variable over 1 and solve. Example, this table shows the cost of 1 cookie, which is the unit rate, so each cookie is 25 cents. So that relates to the example we wrote out on the front. Same thing with our graph, same graph. Just if you were confused, we were at 8 and 36. So if you didn't do well drawing your own graph, proportional relationships can also be represented in graphs. The graphs can be used to identify the constant of proportionality and make predictions. Finding the constant proportionality from a graph. So you find the point 1x on the line. This point is the unit rate. So we can go 1. It's pretty close to 4.5. If you cannot clearly identify the coordinates of point 1x on the line, set proportion using another point on the line and a variable over 1 and solve. So that's what we did on front. Because if you go to 1, it doesn't match up perfectly with a y. You can tell after you know the answer, it is by 4.5. But it was easier to use 8 because it lined up perfectly with 36. So, back to a couple examples. So we have unit rate is the cost, mileage, etc. for 1 unit. So example, if we can purchase 6 boxes of tissues for $15, how much does each box cost? So write the information you have been given as a ratio. So we were given 6 to 15. So next, set up a proportion to determine the cost of just 1 box of tissue. Don't forget to write a ratio using words first. So we're going to write out our units first. So we're given boxes and money. We know 6 boxes cost $15. We want to know how much 1 box cost. So very similar to what we did Monday with the solving proportions. So if we cross multiply, we have 15 times 1, which is 15, and 6 times x, so 6x. So then we divide. So it's just like Monday, cross multiply and divide. 15 divided by 6 gives us 2.5, so 250 for 1 box. So remember, just like how we talked about on the very first page, there's a shortcut. So rather than set up a proportion, you can always just divide the dollar amount by number of units. So if you're doing unit rate or unit prices, You always take your dollar amount divided by how many units you know for that dollar amount. So for some examples, we have 12 gallons of gas cost $45. How much was it for each gallon? So the cost was $45 for 12 gallons. Write this as a ratio. So we have 45 over 12. We want money over gallons. So you need to find the cost of 1 gallon. So the long way, we would do 45 over 12. Oops. 8, and then x over 1. Because we want 1 gallon in the price. You can cross multiply and divide, or you can just simply do 45 divided by 12, which gives us $3.75. Same thing as doing 45 times 1, which is 45, equals 12 times x, which is 12x, and then dividing it by the 12 to get your variable by itself. So shortcut, a lot faster when you're doing unit rate. So now, posted separately, you have 4 problems to work through for today over unit rate. And then make sure you turn that in.